Hello and welcome. My name is Wayne and I am with Choice to Change. And today we're going to be discussing a topic under anger awareness. And when we look at anger awareness, we can say that many of us look at anger as being a negative when it really is not. Did you know that anger is really your body telling you something is not right with your world? And you know, anger as an emotion is definitely about you. And it is a very natural emotion, but when we don't keep it under control and utilize it correctly is when it can hurt others, hurt yourself, or even hurt your situation. So today's particular topic we're going to be discussing is about frustration. Have you ever felt like this in this particular picture? Frustration is something that we would call a trigger that causes us to become angry. So my first question is what is frustration? Frustration is the feeling of being upset or angry, and it's due to not being able to control a situation, outcome, or what another person says, does, thinks, or feels. So it can happen anywhere. Have you ever been frustrated? I'm guessing that you could say yes to that question. It can happen at work. Have you been frustrated with a supervisor, a coworker? It can happen at home, maybe with a family, with someone, with one of your relatives, a mom, a dad, a child. It can happen with adults or kids. You know, children become frustrated very easily if they're not able to understand something, things with their school. Maybe they're upset with their parent because of a privilege being revoked. And then it can happen with your friends. Ever had your friends frustrate you? I know it's very easy, and frustration can happen anywhere. What might it look like? It can be something that happens to you physically, socially, or mentally. It can be short-lived. I was only frustrated for a minute and then I figured it out. Or it can be going on for years. You know, I haven't been able to do this thing, or this person has been like this for years. So frustration can go over a long period of time. But what's interesting is that it is difficult or different for each of us. The thing that would frustrate me might not frustrate you at all, but something different could frustrate you that I might find easy to handle. And so it's absolutely different. And it can be with students, bosses, friends, parents, or kids, but each one of us is affected. We all receive frustration in some way, shape, or form. So then, what are some looks to frustration? You know, as the situation hits, we are going to react. The thing is we don't want to just react. You know, a lot of times we react with a flash of anger. Can you believe that happened? Can you believe so-and-so said this? You know, we don't want to just react. And we also don't want to let an external trigger, the thing that caused us to react, to change how we react internally. You know, it might look like escalating because of the way we think about it, the way we start maybe doing some negative self-talk. You know, can you believe that person said that? And then you start thinking it over and over, and it can actually make you more angry. So when we become frustrated, don't let that internal trigger, that negative self-talk, begin to escalate your anger. All right, so now when another thing about frustration is that we all want to have control of the things in our life, but there are times that we do not have control. And so sometimes we have to be able to say, we just don't have control over everything in our world. And so as we begin to understand that we don't have control of everything, I recommend that we repeat this statement. I want you to think about this. I have no control over what someone else says, does, thinks, or feels. I only have control over what I say, do, think, or feel. I want you to just let that sink in for a second, because it is so true. Someone comes up to me and says something that just frustrates me. Someone drives their car in front of me and I feel like I'm going to be late and I am frustrated. And so let's think about those words again. I have no control over what someone else says, does, think, or feel, but I have control over what I say, do, think, or feel. And as we begin to input this in, utilize it in our life, it will help us to maintain our frustration level. That will help us to keep from becoming angry, maybe to a point where we actually do something, say something that we shouldn't. And so I'd like to talk about some management tips, things that are going to help me maintain my frustration levels, help me to maintain my ability to interact with this frustrating circumstance, help me to be able to not have to apologize later because I said something in my frustrated state. So here are some things that may be of help. Think before you speak. Oh, you know how I get to a point where I think before I speak? I take a deep breath. That this thing is happening, I can't believe it's happening, and now I'm going to breathe in through my nose, out through my mouth. And I begin to think about the situation before I say something. If I start to speak before I think, there's a good possibility I'm going to say something that I wish I hadn't. All right, and then once you are calm because you've taken the break, then you can express your concerns or your feelings. All right, so we don't want to do it at the moment, the heated moment, but we want to wait a moment, take the breath, think, and then express your concern. Maybe we're going to use some I statements instead of you statements. You did this, you said. Let's go to I statements, more like, I really feel that what you said was not very considerate. I feel that I should be next in line. See, we're going to use I statements to help us to reduce these frustrating moments. Another thing that we can do to help us is to have good communication. Say what you mean and mean what you say, and then say it with kindness and respect. How many times have you said something in that heated moment and you eventually said, you know what, I really didn't mean that. I'm really sorry for saying it. So if we take that moment to think before we speak and then have good communication, express your concern, but do it in a kind and respectful way. What a difference it will make in your relationships, what a difference it'll make in the entire situation. Because a kind and gentle word will actually push away evil, push away wrath, all right? And it will help you in your time of that very frustrating moment, all right? Other things that you can do is to keep your body healthy, eating right, sleeping, and getting exercise. And so as you maintain a good, healthy body, it will help you to work through frustrations in a healthy manner. Sometimes you need to take a time out. If you're working in a very frustrating situation, maybe you need to go take a smoke break. Maybe you need to go to the restroom and get a drink of water. You know what? Sometimes you need to have a Snickers bar. Go get something to eat. Take a break during this stressful situation if you are able to. While you're in this situation and you're taking the moment to think, maybe you can identify possible solutions. I love doing what we call the idea board. Let's take a look at the idea. There's a problem here. What are some ideas? And so we start putting ideas up on the idea board. How can we fix this? What are solutions? Because often we like to talk about the problem, but rarely do we talk about the solution. Something else that we can do, don't hold a grudge. If someone apologizes, forgive them and try not to hold a grudge against them, and it will help you to keep your anger low, keep your frustration down to a minimum. And so walk in forgiveness and not hold a grudge. Another thing you can do is sometimes when you're in frustrating circumstances, you can try to speak to a professional or someone who can speak into your life or help you. In some cases, you could talk to a pastor, a rabbi, someone who helps you in your spiritual walk. Sometimes you can talk to a counselor, a coach, a mentor, a teacher, depending on your situation. Find someone who may not be associated with that circumstance, kind of like an outside source that could look at it objectively and help you with solutions. All right, you can use humor to release tensions. Sometimes if you can make a joke about it. I like to laugh at me, and so sometimes I'll make jokes about myself. And then one thing to remember as you're handling these situations is that for parents, I want you to know that your kids watch everything that you do. And as soon as you do something, it's automatically okay for them to repeat it or to do the same thing. And so be careful in your response to your frustrating situation, because the little eyes are watching and they're going to see, oh, mom did it this way. Dad, he said these things, or he said it this way. So that must be okay. So always remember that what you do is being watched and will be modeled by those around you. If you're a leader, your followers will do similar things. And you may be setting the environment or the tone for the place where you are based upon how you handle your frustrating circumstance. And so as we have considered these different ways to handle frustration, to handle how we're being aware of maintaining our anger that can happen from a frustrating circumstance, I want to have you remember that you are the only one in control of your response. And so today, as you go forth and you face most certain frustrations throughout this day and time as we live, know that you are in control of how you respond, and utilize some of these tips to help you make your responses excellent, and that those around you will say, oh, he did a great job handling that circumstance. I believe you can do it. I know that you have that ability. And so today, may you have a great day.